Hi, Lucy Faye here, spring break 2020 senior year, and I haven't left the house in 4 days. Today I'm here to talk about the movie Escape Room, a mediocre movie that made chump change in the box office. There's fucking a million movies by this name and only one of them is good, and that is Escape Room 2019. I liked this movie an immense amount, to the point where I have recommended it to legitimate horror fans and gleefully await the sequel. So right off the bat, I like the characters in this movie. Yeah, they're all blatant stereotypes whose backstories could be called from a mile away, but what's wrong with a few stereotypes? If a movie doesn't directly use stereotypes, its characterizations were probably written to directly defy a given character cliché. None of the stereotypes in this movie are stupid, offensive, or that far from realistic. How I like to view this movie is it's like a character study, like a warm-up or prompt in a writing class to get a better understanding of who your principal character is. You take polar characters, put them in an insane situation, and then ask, what would you do, how, and at what cost? I love character work. I know plot is supposed to come first, but who doesn't love a My Dinner with Andre or Inside Llewyn Davis type movie every once in a while? Heck, I'd choose a memoir over a novel any day. So a movie with the simplest premise ever, Escape, can do wonders for me as long as I can find something in the movie to care about. In this movie, that would be my love of riddles, my apparent dream man, and the constant questions flowing through my head about which one of these not quite protagonists but are still technically important characters is going to die next. The simplistic plot helped me delve deeper into who each character actually is. It gives me time to question things like, why did Ben kill Jason? Ben wasn't exactly the self-preserving type before this point, so what changed? Or why did Danny let everyone leave the first room before him? Despite what Ben may have implied, I don't think it was just to get into their pants. So why let this group of misfits who have never done an escape room possibly beat him at the one thing in which he strives and win the $10,000 prize over him? Every character in this movie I was able to find some sort of sympathy with. And I think the whole sole survivor narrative was a really interesting addition to make these characters both separate from their broad simplistic stereotypes while simultaneously making them fit their stereotype better by pushing them to their purest form of humanity, if that makes sense. And the twist with Jason not actually being a sole survivor adds a whole nother layer of complexity onto the movie. First off, we now know that the puzzle maker, who has been shown to have basically godlike knowledge of these characters, is not this all-knowing force. On top of that, we are now left to question every single motivation that Jason has had. The one character I had a problem with in this movie was this woman, the veteran who has scars from an IUD explosion. She felt overly simplistic and very whiny. Moving on past the characters, this movie looks great. I'm not gonna try and act like I have the red letter media ability to say the things that actually made the good occur. Just because I love movies does not make me smart about them. But what I can say is this movie doesn't bore me ever. I'm a rather compulsive multitasker. Why just watch Dance Moms when I could also make a virtual pizza? But watching this movie, I didn't have the urge to play on my phone at one point. I liked looking at the screen. Each room in this movie has an atmosphere completely of its own. The camera work really pushes new vibes on the audience each step of the puzzle. The waiting room and the room that holds the Game Master, the first and last rooms, have this odd sense of realism. You're so close to this intense, chaotic illusion of sorts, and yet everything's still and recognizable. As soon as they enter the cold room, your world expands to the impossible. The scene is big, the people isolated, you are no longer on the top floor of a Chicago warehouse, you're in a fucked up Narnia where the water below that ice flows a mile down. Then, in the hospital simulation, the 5th of the 7 rooms, you're tired and searching. This room feels so close to real, but you know you're still in the game, so something must be afoot. When you enter the room, there's no obvious threat, but there's just so much stuff and so much reference trauma. Plus, the group is in complete shambles, having just lost 3 members. Each room in this movie brings its own ambiance and mystery while keeping the same tenseness and curiosity. Escape Room's plot isn't what carries it forward, it's everything else. This movie is not the biggest thinker. As I said before, the characters are rather obvious stereotypes. But if you want, you can make this movie so much more than its original idea. Take it further. If you're like me and like taking a character from this show and putting them in a world with a character from this show just to see what would happen, let this movie spark your creativity, while also being a great example of one of the simplest creative writing concepts. Make a character, make a goal. Now do fucking everything your mind can muster to stop that fucker from reaching their goal. Watch this movie your own way, whether you want to get something out of it or you just want to fill the empty void that is our current dystopian reality. But keep in mind, this is a thriller/horror movie with minimal gore but a lot of intense scenes that probably shouldn't be shown to young children or whatever. Thank you, bye!